Hope you got your denim on. It's Friday. It is Casual Friday here at Digital Charcuterie. Guys, thank you so much. Over the last little while, we passed 100 subscribers here at Digital Charcuterie. That is freaking amazing. Thank you so much for everybody that has subscribed to the channel, supported the channel. It means a lot. It's tough when you're starting out on YouTube, and that's how we are. And slowly but surely, we are gaining momentum, and it really, really, really means a lot to me and everyone here at Digital Charcuterie. So let's get Casual Friday started. We got a great one today. We're going to talk, I got an email. We're going to talk emails. I got a few emails, but I'm only going to do one this week. So next week, guys, send your email questions. We'll expand the show topics if we have to more than 3 to fit in the emails. I got one that I really wanted to discuss today. I just got back from vacation, as some of you may know. So the show is basically that. I'm going to do the Cloverfield Paradox, which I watched on the plane to my vacation. I'm going to do a little review of that. Nothing too intricate on it. I just want to let you guys know what I thought of it overall. I'm a huge 10 Cloverfield Lane fan. I like the original Cloverfield. I was very, very much looking forward to Cloverfield Paradox, and Netflix dropped some crazy news. So let's start things off with this email question from Mary Lambert. Hi, James. Big fan of the new channel. Thanks. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for all your support. A couple weeks ago, you mentioned your love for He-Man. Was wondering if there was another animated series you grew up with you'd like to see has a live action movie. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Great question, and the one that comes to mind, there's a few probably, but the one that really, really comes to mind that I want to talk about right now is Thundercats. Thundercats was up there with He-Man for me as a child. I was Panthro for Halloween, huge Panthro fan. If they made a live action film of that today, I don't know who I'd want to play Panthro, to be completely honest with you. I could not think of an actor that would properly embody Panthro. I've been struggling with this one. There used to be a few that I thought would be good, but now some of them are too old, passed away, and whatnot. I don't know who would want to be Panthro. Lion-O, on the other hand, though, Lion-O, I would go. There's a lot. I used to want Paul Walker, and obviously Paul Walker has tragically passed away, and I think he'd be getting up in age now anyway. Because Lion-O, if you remember Lion-O, for those of you that don't, Thundercats were a bunch of human cats that were superheroes on the planet Thundera, and so anyway, the story's pretty cool. So Lion-O, though, was always learning and progressing, and he had Jaga. Jaga was his mentor who passed away, very much like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I get Ben Kingsley to play Jaga. That's what I get, Ben Kingsley, Jaga. Why not? I mean, he doesn't have the age. He does, but he doesn't appear. I think he could be wise in the Jaga sort of way. Lion-O, though, was always learning as he went up, and I would go with Dylan Minnette from 13 Reasons Why and Don't Breathe. I like him. He's the right age. And his voice is Lion-O. He's got that powerful voice. I think he could pull off Lion-O. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I don't think, I always thought it'd be cool if they did like makeup, like Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Whether you like that Planet of the Apes movie or not, the makeup effects in that film are just fantastic, off the board. So that's how I always wanted. Now I would guess they would go more of the like the Ninja Turtles route, the computer CG, the motion capture, which makes complete sense. When you watch, more of the Planet of the Apes, those Planet of the Apes movies, it looks phenomenal. Why wouldn't you go that? I struggle to think they could do that for every single character in a movie that takes place on a weird planet. But who knows what they could do? Planet of the Apes, most of the apes. So if they have the budget, if they don't, it would just look sloppy. And then, like I said, with He-Man, you got to go the animated route. You've got to go that direction. For Chitara, look, Margot Robbie. I know she's in everything. It's an easy out, but I think she looks the part. That's really all that I can say about that. Tigra, Michael B. Jordan, fantastic actor. You got to have an A-lister in there. You got Margot Robbie, Ben Kingsley, sure. Michael B. Jordan, he is your headliner. Like I said, Panthro. Can I figure out if you have any Panthro suggestions? Write them in the comments below. Let me know who you think should play Panthro in a live-action movie. And Mumra, let's talk about Mumra, because Mumra is an old, decrepit being, and then he kind of has like this spell, and he goes, Mumra, and he is he's big and ferocious. So The question is, do you have an actor for old Mumra and an actor for buff Mumra? Or do you Captain America it and make the buff guys scrawny? I'm going to go that direction. And I'm going to pick The Rock. And I didn't originally think The Rock would be good fit for it. But, The Rock hamming it up in a villainous role, thinking of how cheesy Mumra is to begin with, he could pull it off in a way that would be extra fun. Again, an A-list star headlining it. You would trust the movie because The Rock's in it. So that's where I am on the casting of Thundercats. Wile E. Cat, great one. I have no idea who I would get for those two either. I don't really know any teen actors out there right now, I guess. Can we go Bughead? Let's do Bughead from Riverdale. We'll get those two. They could play Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat in this one. So Bughead is Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat. If you don't know who Bughead is, it's Betty and Jughead from Riverdale. We'll go with them. They're way too old. But I don't know how old they would cast Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat. They would probably be that age because that's how Hollywood does it, which would be weird because it's the same age as Lion-O. But I think they actually are the same age as Lion-O. There's a weird time thing. Thundercats, if you haven't seen Thundercats, it probably does not hold up. I used to wake up every morning to watch, every Saturday morning to watch it. And then as I got older and it got older, it started to be on at 6 in the morning. And I would wake up at 6 a.m. Saturday mornings to watch reruns of Thundercats. So it also was brought back in 2011. I don't know if anybody watched that. It was only on for a year, I believe. So it wasn't. I guess it's not a property that they feel is viable. Transformers crushed it at the box office. I mean, there's 5 of them, so you don't have to like any of them. But there's 5 or 6. There's a lot. There's too many. I can't even. There's 5. I think there's 5. G.I. Joe. There's 2. Neither one of them very good, but there's still 2 of them. He-Man They keep wanting to do He-Man. We'll see what happens there. And Thundercats, you're coming up next. Bring it, Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Ho! Netflix is going to produce 700 original films in 2018. I believe it's 2018. 700. Look, Netflix's track record is fantastic. It's astronomical. If you see the Netflix boom come up, you're like, oh, there's a really good chance this is going to be good. When you have 700 of those, your chances start to dwindle, and you start to say, hey, this is not going to be that great. And I'm going to be talking about Cloverfield Paradox in a second, and I haven't seen Mute yet. I almost watched it last night, but decided not to. Look, not everything is golden, and they're going to start learning that. And I know they really want people to stick around on Netflix for the original programming, which makes complete sense. The world is shifting into Netflix territory. It is going to be all streaming soon, and they know that, and they need to stand out. But otherwise, they will go the way of Blockbuster. When Blockbuster came for that, when they came for Blockbuster, that's just how the world works. And kudos to Netflix for understanding that, for appreciating it, and saying, hey, we're going to double down on our original stuff. But the more original stuff you do, the better the chance of it not being good. I'm really curious to see, because of all the Netflix originals I've seen, and the thing with Cloverfield Paradox, and like I said, I'm going to get to that, is it's a Netflix original, but it's not really. So I'm kind of split on that original. But you look at Stranger Things, 13 Reasons Why. These are all shows, not movies necessarily. So Bloodline, the first 2 seasons, the first season especially, second season had some moments. The OA is really good. There's a lot of stuff over there, and you're like, okay, they can't miss. But then you forget that there have been things that have missed. You could say Bloodline missed. It got canceled after 3 seasons. And that's the other thing. Netflix is great at hiding it. They make enough money where they could say, we're not going to admit that this show's a failure yet. We're going to let it go. And we'll let the creators finish their story. It might have to be quick and dirty, but we'll let them finish it. I'm curious to see Altered Carbon. I've seen the first episode of Altered Carbon. I decided not to do a review of it. I wasn't crazy about the first episode of Altered Carbon, to be completely honest with you. It didn't feel refreshing or new. I felt like I had seen it all before. The cinematography, it reminded me of like Back to the Future. It wasn't fitting in. I think they wanted it to look like Blade Runner at times, but it felt more, like I said, it felt more Back to the Future 2 than Blade Runner. It was just a weird, and then the plot itself was empty. It was, what was it, like an hour long, and really it was an hour long to get from A to B, and they put all this junk in the middle just to show you the world that you were in. I felt like there was a better way they could have done that. So I wasn't really crazy, but I didn't hate, like, I mean, obviously I haven't watched, it's been 2 weeks. I was on vacation, so I couldn't watch it for a week, but it was, I guess, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't really had the urge to go back to it. And I'm curious to see how many of these 700, I think 30 of them will be anime, unless that's separate account from it. Like, they're doubling down on what they're doing, which is great. It's great. Movie theaters they're going to start. Movie theaters are basically only going to be for the big blockbusters like your Star Wars, your Marvels, your DC. DC probably goes straight to like Amazon Prime, and then the Oscar bait. But they'll only be in the Oscar bait things for like a week, and then they'll be on Netflix. So that's obviously where they're going there. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Is it too much Netflix originals? Do you think they can sustain the good quality that they have going now? Do you think it's going downhill fast? Have you seen Altered Carbon? Have you seen Mute? What do you think of those? They also look kind of similar. Like I said, I didn't see Mute, but I watched the trailer on the Apple TV. The trailer came up, and it didn't look totally different from Mute. It's like they're all going. It's like there's futuristic things, and then I think there's a new like teenage show coming from Netflix, and it's really weird. But there's a good news. We're having a Netflix show coming on this channel later this month, so that's looking like it's gonna. That show will live on because of all of this. Let's go on to Cloverfield Paradox, my quick and dirty review of Cloverfield Paradox. Like I said, I watched it on a plane. You can never truly enjoy a movie on a plane. That is the first and foremost piece of information that I've got to say. But I tried because, like I said, 10 Cloverfield Lane was a movie I was all in on from start to finish. And at one point I turned and I said, I really hope they end this with an alien invasion. That was my plan. How did it connect to Cloverfield, the original Cloverfield movie? There were little tidbits here, John Goodman's job, things like that. Now you got Cloverfield Paradox. How is this going to connect to the other two Cloverfields? And this is both its strengths and its weaknesses come from Cloverfield Paradox wanting, well, not its weaknesses, but wanting to connect to the other Cloverfield movies. I felt watching 10 Cloverfield Lane, I didn't need it to connect to Cloverfield. I didn't. I accepted it as an anthology, as like the Twilight Zone. And people are like, but they have to connect. But look at Black Mirror. I thought of it like a Black Mirror. They're all episodes within this title, Black Mirror. That's the bubble you're in. They don't have to connect, but they're a series of weird sci-fi stories in the title Cloverfield. So that's how I accepted it. Now this movie comes and they kind of say, oh, no, that's not how we're doing it. Everything is connected. And you can really tell that this wasn't Cloverfield first. There was definitely another movie first, or not another movie, but like an individual from Cloverfield movie. And the Cloverfield stuff really kind of seemed forced and pushed in. Like the ship they're on is called the Cloverfield, and the Cloverfield Paradox is something that like John Goodman's brother or somebody that just coincidentally has the same last name as him says will happen. It's going to open up all these portals. And so it's very lazy in how they do it, because they're kind of like, well, if we keep shooting, we're going to open up portals and poop's going to hit the fan. And that's exactly what happens. And the biggest, so that's how they connect everything. It's kind of like, well, because of this allows this, and this. And I'm still excited for Cloverfield 4, Overlord, which takes place in World War I or II, I think World War II, which could be very cool. And this obviously will give a reason for why things like that happen. Now, whether or not you need to know why those things are there in Cloverfield 4, I can't say yet, obviously. They finished shooting it, so I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm excited. Maybe it's straight to Netflix, because Netflix is also doubling down on Cloverfield. I think 10 Cloverfield Lane has been there for a while. And Cloverfield, I just got an email before I left from Netflix saying, hey, we just added Cloverfield. So they're going full Cloverfield on Netflix. So, yeah, whether or not you need to see Paradox to understand why the aliens are, whether it's important, why these creatures that the army guys, the soldiers are fighting, I'm not sure. I hope not. I hope it's very individual. And when you see Paradox, you kind of you're like, oh, you get a better understanding. But I don't want it to be necessary to it. And that's what I like about the Cloverfield movies is you don't need to watch the previous one to enjoy the next one. So the movie itself, my one issue that I had with it was, if you remember in the trailer, so obviously spoilers are going to be coming. I should have said that off the top. I'm sorry. But obviously spoilers for the Paradox. If you watch the trailer, there's a scene where an arm is like crawling down a hallway, and everyone's like, "Ooh, there's an arm." The way he loses the arm, it's Chris O'Dowd. He loses the arm, and by the way, all the actors are great. The actors are all great. I was really surprised at the cast, not their performances, but who they got in this movie. I was like, "Wow, these are." I'm glad I didn't have to pay to see it in the theater. That's one thing I'll say. So he gets it. He's gluing. They find a woman in like a siding of the ship after they accidentally jump dimensions. So somehow they take over. I can't remember. They take over the bodies of the actual crew, and then she's stuck in there or something. Anyway, they grab her. They take her out, and Chris O'Dowd is gluing it back together. And while he's gluing it back together, his arm gets stuck in and it drags him all around. And eventually they pull him out and he has no arm. And there's a really bad CG job for the inners of him. And I think they just should have made it look like it was. Because they say at one point it looks like he was born that way. And he says, but I wasn't. And when you look at it, it looks like it was cut. It looks like it was a straight cut. If it was born that way, it would have healed over. So whatever. But the reason that happens is just so that they can cage the arm, give it a marker, and then the arm will tell them where to find something that they need. And I'm not sure how the arm got that information or why it would have that information. And it was just things like that where it was like, okay, so this has to happen, otherwise you can't get to here. So it's kind of very lazily thrown in. And that's what really threw me off, was the laziness of everything in this movie. Aside from the forcefully trying to connect it to Cloverfield, which is actually the highlights of it, which I didn't really find that much of a highlight, but that's actually the best parts of the movie is how they connect it to the other Cloverfield movies. Because the movie itself is very like, okay, so this has to happen, so that can happen. Everything's forced. It comes up with, I've talked about this a lot with modern storytelling, where I say, you look at it and you go, well, they know the beats they need to hit, but they don't understand how to get there. So you have like, this needs to happen, that needs to happen, that needs to happen, and then they just kind of rush to those moments. And so, yeah, well, that person has to die, and that character has to die now, and then we need to get this sphere. I can't remember what it's called, the sphere thing, which is what the movie should. Well, the movie is called God Particle, which I guess makes sense if you're dimension jumping. I don't really know. Anyway, I would give this one. Look, if you like the Cloverfield movies, I think you definitely have to check out Cloverfield Paradox. The movie itself isn't great. The connections that it has are great. Like I said, I saw it on a plane. I might give it another chance. And when I was on the plane, like I said, I really, really, really wanted to like it. And so while I was watching it on the plane, I was thinking, well, this ain't that bad. And then when the plane landed and the next day I was on the beach, laying down on the beach. I was going to do a review on the beach, but decided not to. It was too windy. So I'm laying on the beach. I started thinking about the movie, and I was like, nah, you tricked yourself into liking it. Not into liking it, because I didn't really like it when I saw it. But I liked it more than I think I should have. And that might be the Cloverfield name, which is fine, too. Also, sometimes you like things because you like a franchise, and that's just how it goes. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. I know it's low, but I have to be honest with it. That's how I felt. The acting, I would give the acting a 10 out of 10 for sure. The directing, I'd give like a 7. The editing, like a 7. Not that that matters to anybody, but that's how I felt. Yeah, that's my review of Cloverfield Paradox. On the way back, I watched Goodbye Christopher Robin, which was a way better movie. Domhnall Gleeson's great. Margot Robbie's great. The boy that plays Christopher Robin is great. But there's still, again, maybe it's I'm on a plane, but the editing and some of the directing, especially towards the beginning of that movie, was very off. I was like, wow, this is very Like, okay, like you're not. It's very lazy in a lot of ways. I've been finding that lately as well. I'll be doing more reviews because I'm so good at them later on. But anyway, guys, this has been Casual Friday here at Digital Charcuterie. Please give us a thumbs up. Give us a subscribe to the channel. Later today, my top 10 movies of 2017 is coming. What made the list? What didn't make the list? I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's going to be what you expect it to be. It wasn't what I expected it to be when I put it together. I will tell you that is coming out at, I think, 7 o'clock tonight right here, Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. Until then, guys, thank you so much for tuning in on Digital Charcuterie, and ciao for now.